Hi friends, welcome to Leelalicious. My name is Regina and today I'm going to show you how to make coconut flour sugar cookies. This recipe is a gluten-free version of classic holiday sugar cookies. I like to use butter in this recipe, but you can also use a vegan substitute to make them dairy-free. And while the name says sugar cookies, you can also use a sugar-free granulated sweetener as a substitute to make these cookies low carb. I'm going to show you a couple of different options to work with this dough. You can use this coconut flour sugar cookie dough to make classic cutout cookies for any occasion, but if you don't want to deal with rolling out and cutting out individual cookies, you can also shape the dough into a roll and then slice and simply bake the cookies into rounds. I also like to use this method with the dough scraps after my first round of cutting out cookies, and then I just bunch up the scraps and make slice and bake cookies. This sugar cookie dough comes together super quick and easily in the food processor.
Add 1 cup of coconut flour to the food processor bowl and be sure to measure the coconut flour correctly. Lightly spoon it into the measuring cup. Do not dip it into the flour. This will compact it and you will end up with too much flour, making the cookie dough dry overall. Next, add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch or substitute tapioca flour or arrowroot powder. This will make the cookie dough more tender and light in texture opposed to when just using coconut flour. Now we need a half cup of sugar. I'm using cane sugar. You can also use white sugar or a sugar-free granulated substitute. Now pour in half a cup of melted butter or a dairy-free vegan butter substitute. We need 2 large eggs and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Also add half a teaspoon of baking powder and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Close the food processor lid and turn it on to combine all of the ingredients. It won't take too long and they will combine into this uniformly mixed cookie dough ball. You should test it out. If you can grab a piece and everything sticks together nicely in your hands, then the dough is done. Coconut flour can vary quite a bit from brand to brand how much liquid it can absorb. If your cookie dough doesn't seem to want to come together in this uniform dough ball, then you can also add a bit more of melted butter or just a couple spoons of water if needed until you have this similar consistency as you see here. And sometimes even the opposite can happen where your dough seems too wet and sticky. Then you can add a bit more coconut flour, just 1 spoon at a time until the dough firms up. Now we need 2 sheets of parchment paper. Use a spatula to scrape out the dough from the food processor onto one of the parchment paper sheets and then press it together with a spatula or by hand into one piece or log shape. Cover it with the other parchment paper piece. Now use a rolling pin to roll out the coconut flour sugar cookie dough to your desired thickness. I like it at about 1/8 of an inch. Place the rolled out dough sheet into your fridge or freezer to let it firm up for a while. This will make cutting out and transferring the cutout shapes much easier later. Once the dough has firmed up, remove it from the fridge. Remove the top parchment paper sheet. Now use your favorite cookie cutters to cut the dough into cookies. You've got a couple options here. You can cut your desired shape and then use a butter knife or a little metal spatula to remove the cutout cookie onto a parchment paper lined baking sheet. But this transferring of individual cookies can be a bit finicky and the cookies may break. So my other recommendation is to just cut out as many cookies as you can fit in your dough sheet. And then use a skewer or toothpick to remove all of the dough pieces in between the cutout shapes. Leave the cutout cookies on that first piece of parchment paper and bake them directly on there. The cookies spread only a little bit while baking, so leave about 1/4 to 1/2 inch between each cookie. The other option is to make slice and bake cookies. This is what I usually do with the dough scraps. Press all of the cookie dough together into a log shape. You can use some plastic wrap or parchment paper to help you roll it more smoothly. And then add this cookie dough roll to the fridge or freezer to firm up again. Now use a sharp knife and simply slice the cookies to about 1/8 of an inch in thickness. You can reshape them slightly more into circles and then add to a parchment paper sheet and bake. Bake the cookies in an oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake time depends on the size of your cookies, so be sure to keep a close eye on them. Mine took about 8 to 10 minutes. They should be set on top, and the bottoms will be lightly browned, but try to not let them darken too much on top. After baking, let the cookies cool on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes before transferring them to a wire rack to cool completely. After the cookies have cooled, you can enjoy them as is, as sugar cookies, or decorate them in one of the following ways. You can make my royal icing recipe and make it into a thinner flooding consistency, and then you can simply dunk the cookie tops in the icing, shake off a bit of excess, and then lay them back down. Because the icing is of thinner consistency, the tops will smooth out as the icing is drying. You can also make the icing in a thicker piping consistency and pipe decorations on your cookies, either making designs or attaching decorations of your choice. You can also decorate the cookies with melted chocolate. For the simple round cookie shapes, that's what I like to do. So I just melt a bit of chocolate in a small bowl. If the chocolate is too thick, you can add a bit of coconut oil to thin it out for easier dipping consistency. Dip half of the cookies in chocolate and then place them back on the baking sheet until the chocolate is set. And you end up with these tender, soft cookies with a bit of a snap from the chocolate. Perfect.
Thank you so much for watching this video and baking along with me. Let me know in the comments what type of cookies are you going to make from this recipe. Classic cutouts, in what shape, or the simple slice and bake version. I love to hear from you. Please also like this video, share it with your friends. This really helps out my channel so much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that now. And I will see you soon with another delicious recipe. Bye for now.